Okay, welcome to Kingdom Coffee. Let's talk about that. Today, I have another favorite guest. This is my son, Daniel Kalashnikov.
Hello.
I am so happy that he was actually willing to do this interview.
Of course.
He's one of the few of my 5 children. Maybe Abby, she would be willing, but yeah, my other 2 sons, maybe down the road. I just really wanted to have you be able to hear from my son, just because it's awesome. I know when I've seen leaders and heard their stories and watched them do ministry, watched them do lots of things, I'm always curious about their family. How did they raise their kids? What are their children like? What's their family life like? I've seen a lot of ministers sadly focus so much on the ministry that their kids go to the wayside, and that has always broken my heart. And I've just felt like that's one of our main foundations, is to do God first, marriage second, family, then ministry or career. And we have literally had to fight to sustain that foundation because many things come against that. Many things want to replace and distract and cause you to think that if you're focusing on your family and you're having a season of just really family focused, you're missing out on the important stuff. And the funny thing is, when I first got married and we got pregnant right away on the honeymoon in Hawaii, I thought, oh no, now we can't do all the things that I thought we were going to do because we're having a child. Well, turns out this was my ministry for that time, and God was really needing to work on my understanding of the value of family, marriage. And I thought I knew that, and I was super good at that because I had 9 siblings. My mom definitely demonstrated that reality that children are a blessing from God and that the more the merrier. So, flashback to Hawaii, we just got married, many new things. I remember that honestly, I had said that I want us to trust God for how many children we're going to have. And Ruslan totally agreed because he wanted children right away. That wasn't exactly what I meant, but he's like, sure, let's trust God. He knew the side of God that says, multiply, fill the earth, and he loves a godly couple. So anyways, I was literally scared. I realized that I was scared that once we consummated the marriage, then we might actually get pregnant. Reality was setting in. So I was out on the ocean just crying out before the Lord and just praying like, Lord, I don't even know if I'm going to be a good mom. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't even know how to be a wife yet. I'm so scared. And I just felt his presence so strong. And he just literally overshadowed me and completely changed my heart. Suddenly, I was so excited to have a child. I felt peace that I hadn't felt before. And he even gave me a scripture reference, which was in Ruth, where Boaz and Ruth knew each other and they conceived a son. And I knew that I was going to be having a son. Enter Daniel Elijah Kalashnikov. So we were very, very excited. And we knew that God was excited about Daniel. He kind of got the beginning. He's my oldest. So we all know poor oldest children, they get the brunt of new parenting. Thank God for grace and love that covers a multitude of sins. But he also got religious mama. I didn't know I was religious at the time. I thought I was just very zealous and excited about God. And I was. Like, I wasn't always terrible and intense, but I could be intense. And I guess I just kind of wanted to ask you, Daniel, what was it like, I guess, just being our child, and maybe some memories you remember, and then how have you seen the transition of just both Ruslan and I? He was a little bit religious too. We both thought, like, if you don't go to church, you're backsliding, and like just pretty strong on some specific things. And what kind of changes have you seen over the years in us, because you've been there in all of our transitions?
Yeah, I mean, when I think back just to like childhood, I have an overall like a good feeling about it all. So thankfully, so yeah, I feel like I had a great childhood. I mean, nothing was like perfect,
right?
But just thinking about you and Papa and your guys' journey, it is interesting because it wasn't like a sudden like thing that I just noticed right away.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like it was just kind of like a slow progression into like I could sense like how like strict and intense you sometimes were, like when I was like younger.
Right.
And I mean, it wasn't like you were like super scary, but it was just like
certain things.
Yeah, certain things were like, oh shoot, like I gotta like be careful around her or whatever. But
yeah, I can see
that. But it is interesting though, because like I haven't actually like thought of like how I felt or how it just like changed stuff the more you guys got more free of that stuff. And yeah, it's just interesting because it was like a slow like progression into then feeling like the more free you got, it almost felt like the more free I was getting slowly, because I was like, oh, like, okay, like it seems like there's more like grace here or something to like mess up. Or
that's a really good point you're making right there, because that is key. And I do remember as a child too, you're not necessarily like noticing this is what my mom and dad are like, this is what's going on. Like, it's not a conscious noticing as a child, because you're kind of just living your life, but then you sometimes hit these landmines and you're like, oh, okay, note to self. But that, it does flow down from the top to the children. And even now, today, with my mom, your grandma, sometimes when she's gotten a breakthrough in something, even now, I will talk to her and we will be going through a similar breakthrough sometimes. And because of her breakthrough, it's trickling down to me still.
That's cool.
And I do think that's kind of like a lamb for a household. That God does families on purpose. Like, it is connected whether you like it or not. And your parents are going to affect you whether you like it or not. And we are going to affect our parents too. But thanks for sharing that, because that's super encouraging too. Because wow, 2 for 1, or 5 for 1, because we have 5 children.
Yeah, it is interesting because it's like when I was younger, I definitely didn't realize how much of my atmosphere was like being affected by like you guys.
Right.
And so
very true.
It's just a really interesting, I don't know, it's just really interesting because I never thought of that. Like maybe like some of those days when I thought I was feeling depressed or something, or maybe I was depressed for the day, I was so confused, like, why do I feel like this? Like, who knows, maybe it's because you and Papa had an argument or something, because you guys are like the heads of the household and I'm under that, so it's like I don't know, interesting thinking about that. Like, I didn't.
No, that's a very good point.
Think about how much your guys' like stuff affects
Affected
all of
you.
us too.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you know the saying, happy wife, happy life. I guess there's some more truth to that than we know.
Yep.
Happy mom, happy kids.
Yep.
That actually reminds me of when we lived at one of our houses. We had just moved in, and I think it was only a few months, and you started saying you kind of felt some heaviness or something, right? Mm-hmm. And do you want to share a little bit about that? Do you remember what happened? This is some insight into Daniel as well. He is a feeler. Yeah. I'm a feeler, basically an empath. But also spiritually, he senses things in the spirit realm. And so do I. And so thankfully, when these things were happening, I knew because I could relate. You know, it wasn't just like, oh, Daniel, just having a bad day. Like, it's fine. Or just ask God to take it, you know. Thankfully, God gave us some tools, and I was always like, let's see what this is, you know. Let's look into this. So then you were feeling this heaviness, both houses. See, he sensed it at each house. Another note, do pray over a house that you just moved into.
Yes. That is good advice.
Cleanse the house spiritually, fill it with the angels of God and Holy Spirit. And you now have the authority over that home to take authority and kick out anything that was there before.
Yep.
Back to you, Daniel.
Well, yeah, to start with the Redding house, I do remember feeling like, I don't know, it just felt weird there. Like, I didn't feel totally at peace, and I just felt super weird. And I remember one day, I was looking like down the hallway into like my parents' bedroom, and I remember seeing a naked man.
It was
running.
Not Ruslan.
It was not. No. No, it was not my dad. I thought it was though. Yeah, saw this naked dude running into their bathroom, and I was like shook for a second because I was like, what the heck? I was like, what's Papa doing? Like, why is he running? And so I go into their bathroom scared, you know, because I don't know if it, I don't want to see my naked dad, and I don't want to see a naked guy. And so I looked in the bathroom and no one was there. And that was like...
And there's no exit there.
No exit. It was super like creepy and weird.
And I think Ruslan was in the office.
Yeah. So there was no way... I checked the whole room because I was skeptical of myself. I was like...
Right.
I saw someone, dude. I freaking saw someone.
Oh my gosh.
But... So yeah, then after that... That kind of connects with what I'm about to say next, is then I kind of befriended our neighbors who lived right next to us, and they lived in the house we were living in, right?
Yes, they had previously lived in the house we were in, and now they're renting.
Yeah. And so, and they're like hippies. Then I remember going over to the neighbor's house to go hang out with their kid, so I was friends with him. His name was Noah. And I remember knocking on the door, and so I think it was his mom or his dad opened the door, and they were all naked. Dude, it was freaking like, I was like so freaked out. Like,
oh, I would be too.
And I was going to ask to hang out with them, but then I was like, oh, never mind, I have to go home actually. So I just went home.
Good job.
So that kind of is like I'm wondering if I was seeing something like in the spirit with that naked dude, because it was really...
Yep.
Yeah, because seeing that naked guy in our house, that was before I went to go and hang out with the neighbor's kid. So. And
the funny thing is, like, they were a great family. We loved them. They were super kind and great owners. But yeah, there was obviously something going on in the spirit over there too.
Yeah, that was weird.
And they didn't know the Lord. But yeah, Daniel has always had a sensitivity in the spirit. And it was also in Redding, I believe, that you kind of started tapping into your musical gift more, right?
Yeah.
Because would you say before that at all you knew how much you liked music and were interested in instruments yet? About
was
8?
Like 8, 9.
Yeah.
I remember I started playing the keyboard.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's when all the music stuff just started.
Pouring out.
And yeah, I loved music.
Yeah.
I remember YouTubing like every song that I wanted to play, and I would just learn it.
Yeah, and he would just learn by ear.
Yeah, that was cool too.
Yeah, I'm like, what? That doesn't happen when I watch those videos. And it was really sweet. His Uncle Todd paid for him
cool.
to play Clocks by Coldplay at it was his birthday, right? Todd's birthday.
I think it was Aunt Faith's.
Oh, for Aunt Faith.
Aunt Faith,
yeah. So it's just really cool to have family support your children, and I thought that was super sweet.
That was super cool. Coldplay that was the thing that me and Uncle Todd connected on, because he really liked Coldplay.
Nice.
Yeah, I think he paid me like $40, which was like $200
Money
bucks
bags.
to me. And I was
For
like,
you.
dang! I'll make sure this is flawless.
You're like, I think I'm gonna stay in this music business.
Yeah. Yeah, he was my first official gig, I guess you could say.
So with the music thing, I've always seen this call on your life. Not always, but since Ready. And I was really cautious to not want to put any kind of pressure on Daniel, to like, this is your gift and this is why you're important, I guess. I just wanted him to be free, like, have fun with it, it's awesome. And we had a discussion actually about, because he was starting to feel a little pressure, because he can tend to put pressure on himself too, but I knew inside of me I didn't want to put any pressure that, like, this is why you're so valuable, your gift.
Yeah.
But we were talking about it, and he was saying, I don't ever want it to be like that I'm doing this for God, or like become famous because of music or something like that. Do you remember that? And we kind of prayed about it and felt like God was just showing Daniel, this gift is for you to connect to me, like God was showing him that.
Yeah, that was cool.
Now that is a gift.
Yeah.
That's the greatest gift of all, something that brings you closer to God. And so I kind of just would pray for that and just be excited what God wanted to show him in that. And I said it never has to turn into anything. It can just be like, this is your connection with God. And I can relate. Like, worship for me is like, that's how I experience God in so many times. That's like, I love to worship God. But it was cool because I feel like it was soon after that conversation, we went to Bethel and Sean Bowles was there, and I wanted Daniel to get prayer from Sean, just to see if he had a word for him or anything. So
I don't know if I remember the full word, but I remember he was saying something like, your fingers and hands move at like speed of lightning or something like that. And then he was saying that I can be in a band no matter what age I am, whether I'm 12, 15, 20, 30 or something. And that was actually really cool to hear, because it was almost like a solidification of like, okay, like he actually did give me a gift. And that was just really cool to kind of have that confirmation that he gave me this gift and I can use it to connect to him.
Yeah, so I love that. God's so good about just giving us those confirmations we need, and keeping us on the right track, even if we don't know what we're doing. Which is often. I remember another thing that was super cool. You talked about, I think you were also 9, 10, and you were, was it during worship? There was like...
Yeah, it was during worship.
Yeah, tell that. That was so cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. Yeah, during worship at Bethel, I remember like looking down at my hands, and I was seeing like light, like rays of light coming out of my fingertips.
That is
and it was
cool.
Really cool. And I was totally checking myself that I wasn't tripping or something.
Right.
Because I was like looking at it and I was like moving them around. I was like, is there something in my eye that's like making it look like? So I'd like do that and I'm like, oh my gosh. It was like,
that is so
actually happening.
Cool. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That reminds me. Just recently, Bobby Connor was quoting that scripture. He trains my fingers for war.
Oh yeah, you sent me that.
And I sent it to Daniel. That's confirmation.
That is so
because
cool.
what Bobby Connor said was that scripture is about playing guitar.
Uh-huh.
And he plays guitar. Wow.
That's so awesome.
Ooh, I got chills. Awesome. Okay, another funny story that I just thought was hilarious, and I didn't find out until years later. But it was at the Honolulu house, and I came to Daniel and I said,
yeah.
Daniel, I had the weirdest dream last night. It was like you had snuck out the window, or like you had snuck out or something, and I didn't know that, but I saw you climbing in the window, and I was like, what are you doing? It was so bizarre. And I tell him that.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, when she told me that dream she had, it terrified me because it was actually very accurate. It was a time where I never thought I'd even say this, but like I snuck out of the house one night to go hang out with my friends.
Which was so not like him.
Yeah, it really wasn't, but I don't even know. I just wanted to, and I was like, sounds exciting. But I totally snuck out of the house, and yeah, that in itself was terrifying. I remember leaving a note on my pillow in case they found me empty, in the bed that said, I'm totally fine, I'm with my friends, don't worry about me. So that was my insurance. I left it on my pillow before I snuck out of the window.
I never saw that note.
She never saw it, which was good. But yeah, then I snuck back in. And yeah, it was, I think, like the next morning.
Yeah, I think you told me later.
Yeah, she tells me this dream. Yeah, what she just said. Like, I saw you sneaking out of my dream. It was so weird. I'm like, that's really weird. What the... I don't know what that means.
Freaking out inside.
I was totally freaking out. That's when I was like, dude, my mom is a prophet. Oh, frick. Like, she's legit, man. She sees everything. So, yeah, that was pretty funny. I told her this, like,
years later.
Yeah, like I want to say, like, what? Maybe when I got engaged or was married, I was like, okay, I think I can tell you now without getting in trouble. Oh my gosh.
Yep, God looks out for our kids, even when we have no idea sometimes what's going on.
Like, I did sneak out, and I do regret it because, it just didn't make me feel good. I was totally being sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just am super thankful that God protected me from, like, many other things, and like I never got into drugs or like had sex before marriage, just like those really important things to me. Like I feel like God really helped me just stay freaking solid with that path. And I'm so happy.
I actually remember you as a teenager saying, like, I don't get it, why is it like I hear a lot of youth pastors and different leaders say, like, all this horrible stuff they did, but then God got a hold of me. Or, like, I was a Christian, I was doing this, I was doing that, but then finally I got convicted or something. And you were always like, does anyone not do that stuff? Like, do they remain pure? Like,
yeah, I remember having that conversation. Yeah. And it was confusing because, so many of these amazing God stories were from people that did like some terrible stuff. And then God came to the rescue. But I'm like, I don't really have like an amazing story. Like I'm just good. Like I mean, like
Right.
what's so good about being good now?
Yeah.
You know? And so
And then you were also just like disappointed. Like, does anyone like not do the bad stuff and just remain a good person?
Yeah,
you know, like,
maybe people just didn't have that strong of a conviction like I was having, because it really was confusing.
That's amazing that God did preserve you in that. And that reminds me of just my life too. I always felt like I just had never really had any interest in any of those things. Drugs were never tempting. I knew for sure I was saving myself for marriage. I was a good girl. I just didn't understand how Christians could just so easily like get into all the stuff of the world. Sadly, I also didn't recognize that it was God that was giving me that ability in some ways, and He, from birth, had called me from the womb to walk a life of purity and being set apart for Him. And I sadly took credit for some of that, and it became self-righteousness for me. And so then I thought other people also needed to live by this standard of perfection. So that was, why I became so religious, because I thought it was my good deeds that made me so pure. But no, definitely not. I look back on my life and see that it was the grace of God that He really preserved me in so many ways. It is like a miracle. So cool. And He showed me literally one time this bubble around me, like that I was in this like protected bubble. And that was just incredible. And He literally, like, it was actually at School of the Prophets. He showed me my past and like incidents where I protected you here. I did this for you. I set you apart here.
That's cool.
I chose your future husband for you. It was like, I thought everyone gets a predestined husband, wife, that it's God ordained, because He did that for me. So yeah. I thought, that's everyone, So it was just incredible. So humbling. And
that's so cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's so cool that you have a similar thing on your life.
Totally. I feel like also I have you to thank with even like my music stuff, because even just like the worship music that you would listen to all the time like really impacted me in a good way.
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
And just the way that you helped me know that music doesn't have to be like anything. It can be just like you're playing it to connect to God.
That's awesome.
And I feel like that really gave me like the freedom to really just enjoy it and not be pressured to like use it for anything or whatever. And I feel like that was just like the best.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Touches my heart. Because I know what it feels like to be under pressure of performing. It's the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, it
is. So, fast forward to now in your life, and finding your amazing wife, and stepping out more in worship over these last few years. Catch us up.
Yeah.
Well, before, I do want to say, when we lived in Olivehurst, Daniel was like 8, and he met this adorable little girl, Chloe, in our homeschool group. And all of a sudden, he starts talking to me about getting married. He's asking all these questions, like detailed questions. How do you actually like send out the invites when you want to get married? Like, how do you mail the letters? How many days after like you turn 18 can you get married? I'm just like, wow, this kid's really thinking this through. I had no idea he had someone in mind. And then the cutest thing, he asks his papa, because in Russian we say papa for dad. He says, Papa, I need you to teach me how to make coffee because I cannot get married unless I know how to make coffee.
Yeah. I thought it was a prerequisite, like I had to, you know?
Yes, and he was correct. His wife loves coffee too.
That is true.
And they got married at Coffee Creek.
Yep. Yeah, that's perfect.
So fun little prophetic messages at 8 years old. Mm-hmm. So fast forward, we disconnected when we left around 2008 to move to Redding, and they lost contact. And then go ahead and tell how you reconnected, and then just...
Yeah, we just like reconnected through Instagram, social media, asked for her number, and we started texting, and yeah, one thing led to another, and yeah, we just found out how much we liked each other. And it was funny too because we both had that dumb mentality where it was like, nah, she doesn't like me. Like, I'm not that awesome. And she thought the same thing. So then we both dated different people. Then I broke up with my person. And then I was basically waiting for them to break up because I'm like, it's her first boyfriend. And I mean,
right.
I'm the one for her. So.
Yeah. And we're like, she's a good one.
Yeah.
Go after her.
Yeah. And then got engaged and married. And
you got engaged and then married what year?
2020.
2020.
COVID.
Yeah, they had to plan around that. But yeah, praise God, it all came together beautifully. Wonderful wedding.
It was the best. It was.
And now they have adorable, my grandson, Israel Ruslan.
He's literally adorable. Yeah, Israel Ruslan.
So perfect. Yes. And we will introduce them at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I would love to just hear about what are you doing with music today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right now, me and Chloe are actually like worship coordinators at Thrive Community Church, and that's been just really fun and cool. So we've just been, helping leading worship there and coordinating different teams, and that's just been a really like cool outlet to have, just to be able to worship God and help. Just like have God use us to help others get to that place of just real worship with Him, not just standing up singing along to something, but like actually like being in His presence.
Yes.
No, like, I don't know, just no like fake stuff. Just trying to be like really genuine with our worship. And so that's just been a super cool.
It's been really neat to watch you and Chloe step in just so smoothly and with the freedom. I know Seren Backer is the one who is leading up Thrive, and her husband Jonathan, and she definitely has a gift of calling forth leaders to just go for it.
Yeah.
And she has amazing, like, she's on the cutting edge of just what God is doing right now in her teaching of destroying sacred cows and realigning with the truth of God and the Word, and challenging some of our wrong theology that we've had for years and years and years.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy call on her life, but she is a sledgehammer, and she is bold, and she is fiery.
Yeah.
And
she's awesome.
She's pretty amazing. It was so cool. The breakthrough that you had at one of the Power and Hope conferences, right?
Yeah.
And it was after Jerry Ann.
Yeah, Jerry Ann. Yep.
Okay, Jerry Ann gave an incredible word. And she talked about like breaking through to the next level kind of thing, or like just stepping through that threshold of things that you've just been holding back, or like that it just wasn't time yet, and just really crossing over. And was it that night that you got a breakthrough, or the next morning?
I feel like it was that night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you and Chloe were leading worship.
Yeah, it was me and Chloe and a bunch of other people.
Right.
We had a pretty big team.
But you guys were leading, is that?
I think so.
Okay.
It was just one of those like unexplainable moments where it was like, I just like really felt like something just like got released / broken in a good way, to where like I could really just sing out and play out just like anything that God was like putting in me to just release.
Nice.
And that was just like the best feeling ever. It was like, I don't know, it was just, yeah, it was really cool to be able to do that. Just also in front of everyone.
Right.
Not that like I wanted to show off anything, but that I felt like I had reached that point to where it was like, I love you so much, God, that like I really don't care like if anyone sees or judges me right now. Because it's like,
that is breakthrough.
Yeah. So it was like the only judgment I care about is like his.
So
and
good.
So that just felt so cool.
Yes.
And like it was like, yeah, it just felt awesome.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like that fear of man melting off.
Yep.
And then whatever thing within you, because I remember several times you had talked about feeling like there was just something kind of holding you back, but you weren't sure what.
Yeah.
You weren't sure how to like step over that or break through it. But
totally.
But you knew it was coming. And it came. So praise God. And many people, I missed it. I was not there. I was so sad.
I know, it was a bummer.
So sad. And that was the one night they weren't recording too. Sad. But many people came to me after. They said, oh my goodness, something happened with Daniel. He was another level, you know, like he let go. He worshiped, you know. It was kind of, to me, felt like a David moment, you know. And I will become even more undignified than this. I don't care. I am worshiping God with all of my heart, my soul, my mind, and my being. And I was just so tickled, so happy. I love breakthrough for anyone, but especially my children. So anyways, I would love to introduce your other half and my grandbaby. I would love to hear just kind of how you grew in your relationship with God.
I feel like I always like knew about God up until like pretty close to when I started dating Chloe and engaged. And yeah, I just always felt like I didn't realize how distant I was from him until I started like getting to know Chloe on a deeper level. And that was just really cool because throughout like my journey of getting closer to God, he always used my relationship with Chloe as like a comparison, which was really helpful actually. And I remember it was around the time where like I like said I love you to Chloe for the first time, and it just like felt so right, and it was lovely. And I remember reflecting on like my relationship with God, and I was like, that's kind of weird that I say I love you to God actually. Because it feels so right when I say it to Chloe, but for some reason when I say it to God, it sounds bad, but like I actually don't really mean it, I don't think. Because you can't really say you love someone if you don't really know them. Right. And so it just felt like an empty, like, I love you so much. I like, love you. Right. I don't know. And so I think from that point on, he really like stirred a fire in me to just get to know him more. And that was just really awesome. And for like the first time like in my life, I actually wanted to read the Bible, which has like, never happened. I just always thought it was a little boring and like, it just didn't pique my interest. And I was reading the Bible like every day and was just like so just consumed in it and was just so excited because now I was seeing the Bible as like this book about my dad that I didn't really know about.
Right.
And it was, yeah, it was just exciting, and I was getting closer with him, and like the fear of man stuff was just starting to like fall off of me to where I was like worshiping in my car in front of my workplace at Starbucks at the time.
I love that.
Just like bumping the music and just like kind of going wild and crazy and like not actually caring what people thought, which was a pretty big deal, like to me.
So big.
Because I didn't want people to see me like that. So yeah, I think, yeah, from that point, that was when I was really starting to get to know him more and get on a deeper level with him. And it's just so cool too how he was using like my relationship with Chloe, because he uses marriage as like a direct, like, what our relationship with him should look like.
Totally.
And so when I was comparing that, I was like, dude, I'm not even close to that. So yeah,
wow.
that was kind of when everything
I
started.
love that.
Awesome.
I love that he knows how to get to our hearts.
Yeah.
So amazing.
All right, so this is my beautiful wife, Chloe.
Hello.
And my beautiful baby boy son, Israel.
I don't know if you could see his little face.
Cute little face.
Oh.
I feel very grateful that like I'm able to like worship with my wife. That's just been like a super cool thing to do, because not a lot of couples get to do that. And I feel like I always get to see like different sides of her too while we're worshiping, and that's always just been, I don't know, just a super cool thing to do together.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot.
Aren't they amazing? We have the best daughter-in-law ever. And we so love Israel. What a gift.
Oh, yeah.
Just life, God just keeps on giving. He is truly the Father of lights. Every good and perfect gift comes from him. Thank you so much for being willing to come on your mama's show.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it will be fun to maybe someday introduce or interview Chloe, because she's got a lot inside of her. She's amazing. And thank you for watching. Please comment just anything that stood out to you, anything that you would like to hear more of.